Hi everyone, Mike here from Bikes by Mike with another cycling related video. Today is bike maintenance day. I'll demo the process for adjusting the free stroke and lever reach on any Shimano Di2 shifter. Okay, let's get to it. In today's video, I'll start off by explaining how this process applies to the various models of Di2 and where it differs. I'll then walk you through the 4 steps in adjusting lever reach and free stroke. Step 1 is taking a baseline measurement of your lever reach position. Step 2 is setting your lever reach to its maximum position. Step 3 is adjusting free stroke. And Step 4, adjusting lever reach. I'll then wrap things up with 3 tips and tricks that everyone needs to know if taking on this task. So the good news is that the process I'll show you today for adjusting free stroke and lever reach is identical for most, but not all, Shimano Di2 levers, and even some of the mechanical shifters as well. But to keep things simple, I'll just stick to Di2 shifters. Of the 4 major product lines of Shimano Di2, that being GRX, 105, Ultegra, and Dura-Ace, all of the major models have a lever reach adjustment. And all of these models, except for 2, have a separate free stroke adjustment. The reason these 2 shifters don't have a free stroke adjustment is because both of them are rim brake models, where a free stroke adjustment simply doesn't apply. This would be a good time for me to explain the difference between the free stroke and lever reach settings on brakes. These are 2 completely different settings, so it's important not to mix them up. The free stroke setting is the distance the brake lever travels before the brake pads make contact with the rotor. It's essentially the starting position of your brake pad engagement bike point. But if you want to change this braking bike point relative to the handlebar drops, you need to adjust the lever reach, which Shimano sometimes calls the lever stroke, just to confuse us. I refuse to call it lever stroke, it's lever reach. That's the resting or starting position of the levers relative to the drops. Everyone has different size hands, so being able to adjust the reach of your lever is important in getting the proper fit. Now back to my chart. Here's where you'll find each of the 2 screws that correspond with the free stroke adjustment as well as lever reach. Unfortunately, there is little consistency between models, but fortunately these screws are easy to find, as they'll either be on the top of the hoods or at the bottom right next to the shifter lever hinge. To demo this process, I'll be adjusting the free stroke and lever reach on my Shimano Dura-Ace 12-speed Di2 shifter model R9270. From the chart, you can see that both the free stroke and the lever reach screws are located at the bottom of the hoods. Looking at a close-up of my shifter lever, this screw is a free stroke adjustment, while this one adjusts the lever reach. Apart from the location of the screws, everything else I demo in this video applies equally to all other Shimano Di2 shifters. Most importantly, the in versus out movement caused by either a clockwise or counterclockwise rotation of the screws is identical for all Di2 models, so that part is consistent. Before we get started, I just want to mention that the order in which you adjust the free stroke and reach does matter. We want to first adjust the free stroke and then, only then, finish with the lever reach adjustment. Both the free stroke and lever reach move the lever's position relative to the drops. So you want to set up your free stroke bite point first and then adjust the lever reach so that it fits your hands perfectly. If you're happy with the reach of your levers right now, then the first thing you'll want to do is take a baseline measurement of the distance between your levers and your handlebars. It's a good idea to do this work with your bike mounted in a repair stand, as you'll need both hands to be free to do the work. I'm using my fork mount stand for this process as it'll keep my handlebars from moving around, but any type of repair stand will do. You can use a tape measure or straight edge ruler for this, but a caliper will get you the most accurate reading. So I'll measure the distance between the handlebar drop and the lever throw, and then jot this measurement down somewhere for future reference. The first thing we want to do before going any further is to peel back the rubber brake hood. This isn't required to adjust the lever reach, but it is required to access the free stroke screw, which is hidden behind the hood. Step 2 is to set the lever reach to its maximum setting, or furthest away from the drops. I'm working on a Shimano Dura-Ace R9270 Di2 lever, which has the lever adjustment screw located underneath the hoods, basically right underneath the hinge point of the lever. And because your handlebar drops will get in the way of inserting a standard hex key, you'll want to use one with an extra long shaft on it to clear the drops. I'm using this Harfington 2mm T-handle hex wrench, which has a very long 5.2-inch shaft on it. I've included a link in the description to where you can buy it. So insert your hex key into the lever reach screw and turn it clockwise, which will move the lever further out away from the handlebars. Keep doing this until you've reached the maximum setting. By the way, this is the difference between the maximum and minimum lever reach positions, so Shimano does give you quite a wide range of adjustment for this setting. Now it's time to adjust the free stroke. Remember, the free stroke is the distance the lever moves before the brake pads make contact with the rotor. This preference is entirely personal. Some riders like a maximum amount of free stroke, which allows you to slightly squeeze the levers without activating the brakes. This is a nice ready position for some riders. You may find that holding this neutral position on the descent will give you a better feel for your braking power and allow you to better modulate the braking force. For me, I like a faster, more responsive lever position with minimal free stroke. This lets me rest my fingers on the levers, but shortly after I start pulling the levers, my brake pads will begin to apply braking force to the rotors. This works for me because my ready position is to rest my hands over the levers, not to slightly pull on them. Locate your free stroke screw. For my R9270 lever, it's located underneath the hood, right next to the lever reach screw. Insert a 2mm hex key. If you want to increase the amount of free stroke, you'll want to turn the screw counterclockwise, which you'll notice by the levers moving away from the handlebars. Conversely, if you want to decrease the amount of free stroke, which will make your levers more responsive, you'll want to turn the screw clockwise. This will bring the lever closer to your handlebars. The range for the free stroke is not massive. This is the difference between the maximum and minimum free stroke adjustment positions. And because the free stroke adjustment moves the starting position of the lever, that's why you'll want to adjust the free stroke before adjusting your lever reach. Just a quick note that almost all Di2 free stroke and lever reach screws are the 2mm hex variety. I think a couple models have a small flathead screwdriver, but I'm not sure which ones. Please don't ask me to go back and read all the manuals. Won't do it. Plus, I've included all links to the manuals in the description, so if you The last step in the process is step 4, adjusting the lever reach. You can simply adjust this to your liking, or you may want to position the lever back to where it sat originally before adjusting the free stroke. I like the reach I had on my bike originally, so I'll first place my 2mm hex key into the lever reach screw. I'll then set my caliper to my original measurement and place it between my lever and handlebar. I'll turn the lever reach screw until the lever is in the exact position it was before I started making the adjustments. And that's it. Now my lever reach position is set properly. Tip number 1 I mentioned earlier, and that's to start with your free stroke adjustment and then, only then, do your lever reach adjustment. Order does matter here. Tip number 2 is something I didn't realize until recently. When bleeding your brakes, you want the free stroke screw wound all the way out, counterclockwise to its maximum setting. The reason being that if it's wound all the way in when bleeding your brakes, you won't be able to get any movement in your free stroke after the bleed as the screw is already wound all the way in. My final tip number 3 is to be careful not to unwind the free stroke screw too much or it'll fall out. So there, you've had your warning. So that's pretty much it for how you go about adjusting your free stroke and lever reach on any Shimano Di2 shifter. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section below. That's all I got for today, folks. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you're not a subscriber to this channel, please subscribe as allow me to produce more content for all of you. See you next time. Happy rolling.